Welcome to the first week of the Unstoppable Small Group Study, where we are going to learn how to overcome life's challenges and obstacles through God's power and be unstoppable. My name is Brendan, and I'll be your host for this small group study. If this is your first time in a small group, we want to congratulate you for being here. At the beginning of your guides, we have put together some tips to having a successful small group. Go ahead and turn to that section in your guide and read through the group tips together. You can press pause now, and when you're finished, then you can press play and we'll continue our small group session. Welcome back. Now go ahead and turn to session 1 in your guide. In every video session, you're going to start off your time with an icebreaker question. The reason we start off with these light-hearted questions is to welcome and warm up the conversation amongst the group. Under the icebreaker question, there is a section called What to Expect. Once you are done with your icebreaker, go ahead and have somebody read that section aloud. Now go ahead and hit pause. Have someone read aloud the icebreaker question and have everyone share their responses. Then, read through the What to Expect section. When you're all done, you can hit play and then we'll continue. I hope you enjoyed that icebreaker. Next, we're going to get into our teaching for the day. So make sure you have a pen and get ready to take some notes. Let's take a look at this.
Some of you know I go up to Park Rapids, Minnesota for a few weeks every year. Our family's had a family cabin up there for many years. And one of the things I love to do while I'm there is I love to fish. And we have a favorite fishing spot, but it's not on the lake where our cabin is. It's about 20 miles away. And so to go there, you kind of have to really want to get there. So we have to trailer our fishing boat, and we have to drive 20 miles. And then you can't launch on this lake where we like to fish. You have to launch on another lake. And you motor across this first lake, and there's a number of homes around the lake and cabins. There's always a lot of people out fishing, water skiing, tubing, things like that. And then you get through this first lake, and you come to a channel that's about the length of 2 football fields. You feel like you're Ponce de Leon on an adventure or something. I brought a picture of the channel, and there it is. And you can't really tell, but it winds about 2 football fields lengths. There's lily pads on each side. There's these white birch trees on each side. But when you get to the channel, it gets shallow, so you have to kind of go slow through the channel. And then it gets so shallow at one point, you have to lift your motor a little bit and kind of putz through on that. And then it gets so shallow, you have to lift your motor all the way, and you have to take some oars and row through part of the channel. And then the last 50 feet gets so shallow that you're kind of touching the bottom of the channel, and that's where Barbara and the kids get out of the boat and pull me through. And no, actually, here's a picture. I don't know if you can tell, but that's me out in front of the boat pulling with a rope. This is our son Jeremy pulling the boat, and it's going through this last 50 feet of the channel. And then it opens up to the most beautiful, quiet, peaceful lake that you've ever seen. I've seen deer come down and drink out of the edge of the lake. Eagles fly overhead. There's only 2 cabins on this other lake back on the other side of the channel. I've never seen more than 3 or 4 boats fishing back there at any given time. But the fishing is just incredible. I mean, we have brought home basket loads of fish from this lake for years and years. And you say, well, Gina, if the lake is so beautiful and if it's so peaceful, deer and eagles and fishing incredible. If it's so incredible, why aren't there more boats back there? Why aren't there more people fishing back there? And the answer is very simple. It just takes so much work to get there. You got to trailer your boat. You got to drive 20 miles. You got to ride across this first lake. You got to go to the channel. You got to slow your boat way down. You got to lift your motor a little bit and putz through. You got to get out your oars and row through. Then you have to get out of the boat and you have to portage it through the rest of the way. It just takes so much work to get there. But only those willing to go through the adversity and the work of going through the channel experience the better fishing on the other side. Now, I'd be willing to bet that in this room today, there are a number of you who feel like you're living right now in the channel of adversity. And you can't see the better fishing on the other side right now. You don't know if you're kind of going in or making progress or if you're ever going to get to the other side. Think about these little children that we just saw on this stage dedicated moments ago. And I can't help but wonder. I wonder when the day is going to come in their life when they realize life hasn't turned out like they dreamed. Life isn't turning out like they planned. Do you remember that day in your life? I mean, nobody ever dreams they're going to graduate from college unemployed with a mountain of debt this high, right? Nobody dreams they're going to be alone and depressed at the age of 30. Nobody dreams that they're going to be divorced twice before they're 45. Nobody dreams of a cancer diagnosis at 51 or being fired at 59. What do you do when you're in the channel of adversity, when life isn't turning out the way that you planned, and you can't see the better fishing on the other side? Today, I want to unpack a story from the Old Testament of the Bible from a guy that I don't know of anybody better to help us when we're in the channel of adversity. And his name is Joseph. Joseph went through a whole series of events of adversity in his life. Joseph was the son of a man named Jacob. His grandfather was a man named Isaac. His great-grandfather was a man named Abraham. Maybe you've heard sometimes the phrase, Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. So here's Joseph down here, one of Jacob's sons. But he's from a very dysfunctional family. Some of you know a little bit about growing up in a dysfunctional family, right? And that's what Joseph was in. Joseph was the favorite son of Jacob's favorite wife. You heard me right. I said favorite wife. He had 4 wives. So this wasn't just a blended family. This was like a food processor family, okay? He's got 10 older brothers who despised him. And before you're too hard on his older brothers, they kind of had reason to despise him because he was daddy's favorite. He was the golden child. He was the son born to his favorite wife. And one day when Joseph was just a teenager, his father gives him this amazing, beautiful, colorful coat that he put on right there. Maybe you've seen the old DVD of Donny Osmond starring in Andrew Lloyd Webber, Joseph in the amazing Technicolor Dreamcoat. Show of hands, how many of you 50 and 60-year-old women had a crush on Donny Osmond back in the day? Yeah, you can admit it. Kids, believe it or not, this was the Justin Bieber of the 70s right here. Now, the problem with Joseph getting this colorful coat, in that day, there were traditions, there were rules. And the rule was that the oldest son was to get the birthright. The oldest son was to be entrusted with the most and the best. Instead, Jacob gives this colorful coat to son number 11, Joseph. Now, you tell me how that made Joseph's brothers love and cherish their little brother. I mean, can you imagine Christmas Day at this house? Joseph's opening his Xbox, he's opening his iPad, his brothers are opening their Chia Pets. They hated their brother. And Joseph is 17 years old when God gives him a dream. He dreams his brothers are stars. He dreams his mother and dad are the moon and the sun. And he dreams they all bow down to him. And he goes to them, he says, hey, I had this dream. And in my dream, you all bowed down to me. Now, by the way, note to self, you might want to write this down. If you have brothers and sisters and you ever have a dream of them bowing down to you, do not share said dream with brothers and sisters, okay? This is not something you want to share over Cheerios at breakfast in the morning. But Joseph tells his brothers about that dream. And they are so sick of this favored son that they hold a tribal council and they vote him off the island. In fact, one of them suggests, let's kill him. So they're all set to kill him. And one of them says, well, rather than kill him, why don't we sell him? We might as well make some money off of him. And so there were some human traffickers coming through the area on their way to Egypt. They throw Joseph in a cistern and they sell him to these human traffickers. And they go to his dad. They take his beautiful, colorful coat. They fill it with the blood of a goat. And they say, oh, Dad, the most horrible thing has happened. Joseph has been attacked by a ferocious animal. And he's gone. And his dad weeps and goes into great mourning because he believes his favorite son has now died. At age 17, Joseph has gone from the dreamer with the beautiful coat, and all of a sudden, he is beaten. He's thrown in a cistern. He's sold as a slave. The channel of adversity did for Joseph what it does for many of us, and that is, it sent him to his knees in humility. Now, this is just speculation on my part. This isn't in the Bible. This is me just reading between the lines a little bit. But I think before God could really use Joseph, there might have been an area of weakness in Joseph's life that God might have needed to break him of. Seems to me Joseph might have struggled with pride. I mean, think about it. He was the golden child. He was Daddy's favorite son. He got the beautiful Technicolor dream coat. He flaunted before his brothers that he was the favorite. He told them, oh, I had this dream about you bowing down to me. But I think God allowed this channel of adversity to go on in Joseph's life because he had a bigger strategy in mind. I think God had something in mind for Joseph on the other side of this channel of adversity. I heard someone say one time, before God can really use a person, he has to crush a person. That way we learn humility. That way we learn total dependence on God. And I have a feeling that any pride that Joseph had in his heart got emptied out when he was in this channel of adversity. I mean, isn't it true that one of the qualities that we appreciate most in another person is this quality of humility? I mean, let's do a straw poll on something. Show of hands. How many of you would say, I would love to go out to eat after church today with a conceited jerk? Yeah, nobody, right? Don't point at him, okay? Just... Nobody wants to be around an arrogant, cocky person who's just full of themselves. But how many of you say, you know, I really enjoy being around people who are humble, people who don't think they're so hot, people who live without a sense of pride. You like to be around a person like that? Of course, we all do. We all do. I want to make a very direct application right here, right now. For those of you who are kind of in an exploring phase in your spiritual journey, you're just kind of searching for God. I want to make an application for those of you who maybe you've known God, you've walked with God at some season in your life, but for whatever reason you've gotten off track and you've gotten away from Him. And maybe right now you're going through a season in life right now where you feel like you've just been kicked in the gut, you've had the wind knocked out of you, and you are down kind of on one knee. And I just want to say to you, I don't know that that's a bad thing. Because God can't change a life until we come to Him in humility. It takes humility to finally admit that you need God. And here's what I would say to you today. If you're feeling like you're kicked in the gut right now, the wind knocked out of you, and you're down on one knee, how about while you're down on one knee, as long as you're there, why don't you just drop the other knee? Why don't you just fall on both knees and just say, God, I realize I can't do this alone. And I need you. And in my humility, in this adversity, in my brokenness, I come to you. I ask Jesus to come into my life. I need your hope. I need your grace. I need your power in my life.
What a great message. After each video teaching, you'll be going through the discussion questions in your guide based on the video teaching we just watched. This is really going to be the meat of your small group because it's where you get to share your takeaways, learn from each other, and encourage one another. At this time, you can turn off your DVD and begin answering your discussion questions. We'll see you next week for session 2 of our Unstoppable Small Group Study.